Creative, guys! So now that I'm back from the Cannes Film Festival, I thought now's a good time to discuss what films I saw at the Cannes Film Festival that I think might be players in the 2025 awards season race. I saw 19 films at Cannes this year, and odds are there's a few that I missed that will probably end up being Oscar contenders. But yeah, this year definitely didn't feel as awards buzzy as last year did. Like, last year felt like, oh, I've seen a lot of potential awards contendery movies. Like, we had Kills the Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest, Perfect Days, Fallen Leaves, Robot Dreams, Elemental, Major Simba, all in the program. So it was a very strong year last year. My overall thoughts when it comes to this year is that the films were fine, but not the best. And that's just because of how good last year was in comparison. Annoyingly, some of the most highly regarded and best reviewed films from Cannes this year premiered after I left the festival. So I've still not seen Seed of the Sacred Fig or All We Imagine as Light. From what I've heard from others that are at the festival who saw those films is that they could potentially be Oscar contenders, particularly in the best international feature categories, but there are still obstacles working against them, but I'll talk about that more later in the video. But yeah, after last year, I felt pretty confident about which films we were going to see go all the way to the Oscars. This year, not so much. I will say there were a lot of big risk-taking movies from the filmmakers this year, but I'm just not sure how many of those films will be celebrated or championed by the Academy. I will say the Academy have taken steps forward in diversifying their taste and their membership of the films that they're acknowledging. They've still got a lot of work to go because, you know, there is still a lot of genre bias at play with the Academy, and certain films that I saw at Cannes, while being great films, I think will struggle to be, championed by the Academy. The Substance by Coralie Fargit is a great example of that. But more on that film later. That's the thing with Cannes, they're actually very good at celebrating more unorthodox, weirder films. Genre bias doesn't really affect the way they pick their movies to champion with awards. But that doesn't necessarily translate into Oscars glory, is what I'm saying. I still think genre bias will be a big obstacle for a lot of the films at Cannes to overcome. And it's why some of the winners that you've seen win the prizes at Cannes aren't necessarily going to be nominated at the Oscars or even contenders at the Oscars. Anyway, in this video, I'm gonna go through all the films at Cannes and discuss which films I think may have a chance of being acknowledged by the Oscars. And I'm gonna start off with the big one, the Palme d'Or winner this year, which was Sean Baker's Anora. This film won the top prize at Cannes, which immediately puts it in the Oscars conversation. It's given it a significant boost. Amazingly, Neon have managed to win the Palme d'Or the last 5 consecutive years in a row at Cannes, which is bonkers, and 4 out of 5 times those films that won the Palme d'Or managed to at least get a nomination for Best Picture at the Oscars, and Parasite also managed to win. The only one of the 5 that didn't get a Best Picture nomination was Titan, and that's probably because it was a very out there, strange, kind of body horror type drama, very violent, and yeah, the Academy just didn't go for it. Again, this sort of circles back around to the idea of genre bias at play when it comes to the films that the Academy like to nominate. And I did hear some people say at Cannes that because Anora is quite a rambunctious screwball comedy with quite a lot of sex in it, that the Academy aren't gonna go for this film, and I can understand why. It is a very intense movie, and I've heard a lot of people comparing it to the Safdie brothers' Uncut Gems, which was goose-egged at the Academy Awards. So yeah, I can see the parallels towards Uncut Gems and Anora, but I do think Anora is a film that will be championed more by the Academy, and I think general audiences are going to enjoy it more, and because it's won the Palme d'Or and it's already got this built-in hype and buzz surrounding it, people will be seeking this movie out, and people are going to have a really good time with this movie. And the ending as well of Anora, I won't spoil it for you, it does leave you feeling quite emotionally devastated. So it's so while it is a fun ride, it does linger in your mind, especially the ending after you've seen it. So I do think Anora is a legit contender for Best Picture. So yeah, I think it's going to be in our Best Picture 10, and the other nominations that I can see it getting are Best Director for Sean Baker, and I also think Sean Baker's probably going to get a nomination for Best Original Screenplay as well. Sorry, my cat is scratching on the wardrobe right now. I don't know what he's doing. He's just like, claw, 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 and he stopped. You done, baby? What's in the wardrobe? What's in the wardrobe? Don't look at me like that. You're so cute. Sorry, that was a tangent. So yeah, we talked about Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, and Mikey Madison needs to be nominated for Best Actress. I can't really see how Anora gets nominated for Best Picture when the lead female titular character doesn't go along with it, when she is, 99% of this film. She is the movie, really. And Mikey Madison, I know she's young, but like she is definitely, I'd say, pretty close to a lock, I'd say, for a Best Actress nomination at this point. So yeah, feeling very confident she's going to be in here. The one we need to sort of put a question mark next to is Mark Eldenstein, who plays the love interest Yvonne in this movie. And he's kind of in a good position because he can campaign for either lead or supporting. There's enough flexibility here. Like, he's not the focal character, but he's in it enough to maybe justify a lead performance. I think he'd probably have a stronger chance in supporting, but also there's other supporting performances in this, like Yuri Borisov and Karen Karagulian, who both do fantastic work as well, who might be more of what you consider to be a supporting role because of where they come into the film and what point of the story, because they're not in the first act, they come in like in the second act. But they have very substantial parts all the way through to the end of the film. But yeah, it's a question of, will they want to champion the new young breakout male performance of Mark Eldenstein? Like, people are really going to be talking about this kid, like, once they see this performance. Like, it is a firecracker performance from him, but definitely the most, like, memorable of the male performances in this, but there's still great work from the other male actors in this. So yeah, I do think there's potential for multiple acting noms. Mikey Madison seems the most likely, but whereas with the male performances, we could maybe get one from Mark Eldenstein, or maybe someone else like Karen Karagulian or Yuri Borisov, depending on the campaign that Neon puts out for them. We'll have to wait and see, really, but it does feel like they will have a campaign for the male parts in this, but whether they get nominated is another question. And also because this film is really stylish, really well executed in terms of the editing from Sean Baker, and particularly in the first act, like, the editing is so fast and whiplash fast, it's so good. And the cinematography as well is absolutely gorgeous as well, by Drew Daniels, I think it is. Yeah, like, this movie could get a nice package, somewhere between 6, maybe 7 nominations. It depends on how well, it's loved. I'd love to see more than that for really. It's just you don't really see, like, modern movies get, modern period movies set in modern day. Even though the costumes are great and all the strippers and stuff in this movie, I don't know if they're going to go for it, because it's, they tend to go more period, more elaborate costumes, whereas these feel very much like in the world of that we live in, So it's unlikely it's going to get any other, like, tech nominations. Maybe sound, I don't know. But I don't know. It's probably not going to get anything else other than those. But we'll see. I'm very excited to see how Nora does. It's a film I really loved. It was my favorite film from the festival. And I do think it will do well at the Oscars in terms of nominations, and I hopefully it wins some as well. So yeah, the fact that Sean Baker's got the top prize has given him a great boost. It's given him a great head start amongst all the other films that we've seen this year. We've talked about Anora. Should we talk about something else? I feel like I've been babbling about that movie just because I love it so much. Okay, so next up we have the blockbuster ticket item of the festival this year, which was George Miller's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. The previous Mad Max film, Fury Road, got 10 Oscar nominations and managed to win 6. But does lightning strike twice for its prequel? I don't think it will. I don't think this movie is going to make the same amount of noise as the first film, and it's already kind of been evidenced by the fact that this film has had a terrible start at the box office. Like, it was projected to make, 40 million on its opening weekend, ended up making about 32, 33, so it fell quite short of it, and yeah, people just aren't as into Furiosa as we thought they were going to be, even though the film is great. I love this movie. It is fantastic. If I think it's on par with Fury Road, but for whatever reason, just people aren't that fussed about this movie, which is really, really strange, and it's making me so sad because, like, they're actually making big screen movies for big screens and people aren't going to go watch them, and it's just, yeah, it casts a dark shadow over the whole landscape of cinema, doesn't it? But yeah, I digress. But yeah, Furiosa, while I do think it will be in the Oscars conversation, it's not going to repeat the same success of, Fury Road and get 10 nominations. I think it's probably looking at a nice bundle of around 4 or 5. Like, it's going to get the tech side, so it'll probably get costumes, production design, visual effects, sound. Could it get score? The previous film didn't get score, weirdly. But the score is really good in this, but I'm not so sure on it getting the nomination, especially when the first one didn't. No acting nominations for Anya Taylor-Joy or Chris Hemsworth. I'm sure Warner Brothers might put on a campaign for them, but I don't see them getting any traction. Charlize Theron couldn't do it for Fury Road, and this feels even less likely with a prequel and all. And then for George Miller did get directing nom for Mad Max Fury Road, you know, which is amazing, and it also got Best Picture as well. But I don't think either of those are gonna happen. It's just Mad Max Fury Road was such an anomaly. Like, just action-packed movies do not get Best Picture nominations, and it's very rare for the director to get nominated for it as well. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a case of lightning striking twice for this. I don't think George Miller will get the nomination, even though this direction is fantastic and the movie is great. The reason I don't feel confident about Furiosa getting the Best Picture nomination this time around is because we have a lot of big franchise movies from Warner Brothers coming out this year. So we've got Furiosa, we had Dune Part 2, and we've got Joker Folie à Deux coming out in the fall as well. And like, these are all movies where the previous films got nominated for Best Picture, got quite a lot of Oscar nominations, and Warner Brothers are just unlikely to get 3 slots in the Best Picture lineup for like big franchise movies. I don't think it's likely. I think we're probably gonna get 2 out of 3. So yeah, my suspicion is we're probably gonna get Joker Folie à Deux and Dune Part 2 in the Best Picture lineup from Warner Brothers. Furiosa, while I can see if it's a weak year, maybe yeah, it can squeeze in, but I'm just not feeling confident on it, really. I just don't think it's gonna get the Best Picture nomination, and the poor box office as well has just, you know, added more fuel to the fire of me thinking it's not going to get nominated. Like, it needed to do well, this movie, and while the critics have really loved it, the box office is not reflective of that, which is really weird. Really weird! God, kind of makes me mad, but yeah, Furiosa, I think is going to get maybe 4, maybe 5 nominations, we shall see. Alright, so the next film that we need to discuss is the new musical melodrama from Jacques Audiard called Emilia Perez. This film won the jury prize at Cannes, and it also had a history-making win of sorts when the jury decided to give all 4 of its women from this film Best Actress. They split it 4 ways between Zoe Saldana, Adriana Paz, Selena Gomez, and trans actress Carla Sofia Gascon. Okay, so first ever trans actress to win this award, along with 3 other co-stars. It's like an ensemble win, almost, but for its 4 leading ladies. Well, 4 ladies, I don't know if you can call all of them leading. I certainly don't think Adria Paz is a leading, or sort of Selena Gomez being a lead either. They definitely felt more like the supporting players. The film has been picked up by Netflix for distribution, and while Netflix do know how to put together a strong Oscars campaign for the films, I am not sure how this film is going to be received by audiences. I know Cannes seemed to celebrate it. Like, my audience that I watched it with really lapped it up, and it obviously won some prizes, like multiple prizes, which is really impressive. But I have a feeling this is more a film that's being championed by Cannes than it will the masses. As I said in my review, wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. I appreciate it. I appreciate the ambition of it, but I did have some problems like really gelling with it fully. I just, for whatever reason, I just could not fully understand how I'm supposed to feel watching that movie. So I can't be the only one. I know I'm not the only one, and I'm sure general audiences might not love it as much as, you know, the crowds at Cannes did. But we'll see, you know, time will tell. But I am curious to see if it will be an awards player, because some people seem to think it certainly could be. I'm not so sure. This is a very unorthodox film with a lot of ambitious themes and ideas going on, because the plot is essentially that this is a Spanish-speaking musical about a Mexican drug lord who undergoes a sex change operation in order to bring down this cartel. Yeah, it is wild. And again, I appreciate, you know, taking such a big swing with a plot like this and making it a musical of all things. It's violent, at times it's funny, it's romantic in places, and it's got some interesting musical numbers where the characters are singing about penis and vagina, as well as other really odd topics to burst in a song about. But I am wondering, is all of that going to be too weird for general audiences and the Academy to get behind? Like Annette, that was a weird musical which, you know, won a prize at Cannes, didn't have any look at the Oscars. Is Emilia Perez going to be like a repeat of that? With this film, I feel it's the performances which will probably get the most discussion of being nominated at the Oscars. I actually think it's probably got a better chance of these performances being nominated at the Golden Globes because they've got the comedy/musical category. So it feels maybe more likely like Selena Gomez or Zoe Saldana could get nominated at the Golden Globes because, you know, there's more chances to be nominated there. But with the Oscars, I'm sure there are some fervent fan bases wanting to see big stars like Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez get their first nominations. Also, there's an exciting narrative that maybe Carla Sofia Gascon could be the first ever trans woman to be nominated for Best Actress, which would be really cool. But she isn't as established as, say, Saldana or Selena Gomez, but she is the titular character, Emilia Perez. I've seen the movie, I enjoyed all of the performances. I just didn't walk out of the film thinking, oh yeah, these are Oscar-nominated performances. And that's just me. I'd love to be proven wrong. I think the film itself is a little bit too close to the edge for some, because it really does dance between the line between serious and not so serious. Again, that's part of the reason why I personally didn't know how to feel watching certain scenes in this film. I had a little bit of internal conflict about, am I supposed to be taking this seriously or am I supposed to just be having fun with it? Also, the fact that the jury of Cannes decided to give all 4 women the Best Actress Award at Cannes kind of like dilutes any one of them being a standout. Like, because they've all been given awards here, like people are going to be questioning, okay, so who's the real lead? Who's the standout? Who are any of these supporting players? I do think Paz and Gomez are more supporting players. I think Saldana and Carla Sofia Gascon are more of the bona fide leads. So Saldana has the most screen time. Carla Sofia Gascon is the titular character. Doesn't show up for, you know, the first act or whatever. I guess they're there but, as a man before they transition. But yeah, Carla Sofia Gascon, the actress herself, isn't in the movie until that point. Personally, the performance that I was moved the most by was Carla Sofia Gascon. Like, she does a lot, like, with this role. Like, you really do feel for her. She's a very magnetic screen presence as well. Whereas Saldana, as well, gives a great performance. I'd love to see her get an Oscar nomination. She's overdue, in my opinion. But, yeah, it's a very triple threat performance, you know, where she's acting, dancing, singing. You know, she's very versatile in this movie, really showing off a different side of her that maybe not all audiences are familiar with. So yeah, it would be cool to see like Saldana or Gascon get a Best Actress nomination out of this. But again, I feel like people's division on who the true lead is will be a bit divided, and that might hurt both of them getting a Best Actress nomination. And as for those, I know there's big Selena Gomez fans out there who want to see her get a first Oscar nomination. I don't think this is the role for it. Honestly, like, she's good in this film, but does she have enough standout moments in this film? Honestly, I saw this film a week ago, and I'm not really remembering any major scenes where I was like, oh, that's an Oscar clip, you know, or this is why she'll be nominated, you know. I didn't have many of those moments watching her performance. I thought she was good. I thought they were all good, but Oscar nominated? Sorry, I'm not confident on it. Again, happy to be proven wrong, but I don't know if this is the role to do it. As for Adriana Paz, yeah, she is good in this, but no, sorry, not gonna happen. She has the least to do out of the 4 of them. But yeah, could Emilia Perez get nominated elsewhere? I'm not seeing nominations like Best Picture or Best Director for Jacques Audiard. There is a chance that maybe this will be France's submission for Best International Feature. I could see it potentially being nominated there, and it would be an inspired pick. It is a movie which does have quite broad appeal in a sense because it's a French film by a renowned French filmmaker, but it's a Spanish-speaking movie, reaching a wider demographic, set in Mexico as well, and it's also got American stars in it, like A-list stars as well, like Saldana and Gomez, you know, very recognizable names, so it's quite marketable to a quite wide demographic, I'd say. And it's also LGBTQ plus positive as well, another reason like it would be a very inspired pick, and a musical. You know, it's very out there and unusual, but, you know, part of me thinks it would be a very cool pick to see nominated. But yeah, France haven't always chosen the best films. I've had terrible luck sometimes because Titan was submitted, didn't even get any nominations. It was shut out. Last year, Anatomy of a Fall won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, but they went with The Taste of Things instead, which seems silly in hindsight now because, you know, Anatomy of a Fall was celebrated at the Oscars. It won Best Screenplay. I'm not sure what else they would go for though at the moment. I feel like Emilia Perez is the most obvious choice at the moment for Best International Feature. My favourite French film that I saw at Cannes this year was actually Noémie Merlan's The Balconattes. I really enjoyed that movie. It played out of competition. It was a midnight screening, but It is a topical movie. It's got a sort of Me Too undertow, and it's funny, it's thrilling, it's very well directed as well. But yeah, Emilia Perez probably made more noise, I'd say, and it also won some prizes as well, so it probably has a little bit more momentum going for it right now. So yeah, if they're gonna go with a film that's debuted at Cannes, Emilia Perez feels like a more logical pick. But yeah, do I see anything else, like screenplay, or costumes, or production design? Not really, like nothing really leapt off the screen for me and like really stuck with me regarding those aspects, but never say never. But yeah, for Emilia Perez, I feel like it kind of rests on the performances to see if they get any traction, because they did win Best Actress at Cannes. Will that reoccur further down the awards season race? Maybe at the Golden Globes, but we'll wait and see. Maybe some critics groups will show some love to them as well. Oh yeah, I meant to say before, guys, if you want more award season content or more reviews from Cannes and also the Venice Film Festival this year, do click that subscribe button. My end goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you haven't hit subscribe and you can do for me, that'll be a really big help. Massive thanks for all your support. Anything for Andrea Arnold's Bird? I was a bit lukewarm with this film. Others liked it more than I did. It didn't win anything, but I'm not sure it's going to be an Oscars player. Andrea Arnold's movies aren't really award season contenders. I've heard mumblings of people saying maybe Barry Keoghan could get a Best Supporting Actor nominations for this, and he's good in this. Like, this is, you know, one of his best performances, I would say. But yeah, I'm not convinced that, you know, this is going to get Barry Keoghan his second Oscar nomination, even though he's good in it. Yeah, I just don't think it's the type of movie that goes to the Academy Awards. Also, the same can be said about Yorgos Lanthimos' new film, Kinds of Kindness. A lot of eyes are on this movie because it's Lanthimos, and you know, his last film, Poor Things, just won 4 Oscars at the last year's Oscars just a few months ago. So yeah, all kind of thinking, oh, you know, this is the new Lanthimos movie, everyone's gonna love it and it's gonna go to the Oscars. No, it's not. This is not an Oscars movie. And I know Jesse Plemons won Best Actor at Cannes, and people are going, oh yeah, this is Jesse Plemons' time for a second Oscar nom now, because he was nominated for Power of the Dog. No. I was saying to Brother Bro from the Oscar Expert channel, we both said it actually, we came out of the Kinds of Kindness screening, we said, oh, Jesse Plemons is so good, wouldn't it be cool if he won Best Actor? And then we both kind of said, yeah, I could see it happening at Cannes, but that's the only place he would win, or even be nominated, you know, is at Cannes. Maybe critics groups, but not, you know, any major awards body. Like, this is a great performance. It's actually 3 performances because it's an anthology film. Again, that's one reason it's working against him, because he's playing 3 different characters, and he's definitely the standout in my eye, that film. But yeah, this movie is not going to be championed, and I don't think Jesse Plemons is just going to be the sole nominee that comes out of Kinds of Kindness. It's just, no. The film would need to be more of a player for Jesse Plemons to come along with it. The fact that he won Best Actor at Cannes is awesome. It's a really cool win. Happy for him. It's not going to be a film that other awards bodies are going to be acknowledging. It's just not going to happen. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Some of you are wondering if Limonov the Ballad might be able to get Ben Whishaw his first ever, you know, Best Actor Oscar nomination. I actually missed this film at Cannes. I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure. But I don't feel like this is going to translate into an Oscar nomination for Ben Whishaw, solely based off the fact that there was very little buzz for Ben Wishaw's performance in Limonov around Cannes. Like, when the film did premiere, I heard very little people talking about it, very people discussing Ben Whishaw. Like, it just, most people were like lukewarm to the film, and they said Ben Whishaw was good, but yeah, there was no like adulation, no hype, no buzz surrounding him after the film premiered. So just based on that, I don't think this is a performance that will get Ben Wishaw's first nomination. Again, love to be proven wrong. I've not seen the film, but yeah, we'll see. All right, so next up we have The Apprentice from Ali Abbasi. This was definitely on my radar as a film that could potentially be an Oscars contender, given the actors and the characters that they're playing. And I will say, like I said in my review, this could very well be an awards player. Sebastian Stan will be in the Best Actor conversation for playing Donald Trump. It's a very nuanced, dimensional performance. Like, it's, you know, Donald Trump is one of those people who's very easy to do a bad impression of, and this is not that. You know, it's a very much embodiment of the role, and you see a transformation of him throughout the movie. And yeah, Sebastian Stan is fantastic in this. It's, you know, a phenomenal performance, one that could very much net him a lot of awards nominations in general. And yeah, he'll definitely be in the mix. Not going to say he's a lock for Best Actor at the Oscars, but I do think, you know, he will be like one of the serious contenders for sure, for playing such a notable historical figure who everyone's talking about this year as well because of what's going on with the trial and all that. So yeah, and the election as well. But also we need to give acknowledgement to Jeremy Strong as well, who plays Roy Cohn. I didn't really know much about him, but the movie really did teach me about how much of a volatile, horrible human being he was. And like, this is a very loud, very grabby performance from Jeremy Strong. Like, it's a fantastic performance from him. And amazingly, like, what Jeremy Strong manages to do with the role is he manages to somehow nuance little moments of sympathy in for Roy Cohn, even though he's an absolutely unsympathetic person, like to feel sorry for or whatnot. But he does make you feel something for him in a few moments. I'm just like, okay, go Jeremy Strong. Like, I'm actually feeling kind of bad for this guy, even though I know I shouldn't because, you know, they are a deplorable human being. But yeah, he did a great job. And I feel like Jeremy Strong will definitely be in the conversation for Best Supporting Actor for sure. Could get a nomination for sure. People wondering about Maria Bakalova. She's good in the movie. I don't think she does enough to get an Oscar nomination or a second Oscar nomination, but she is good in the movie, I'll say that. The screenplay is pretty solid. While I don't know if there's much revelatory information here for those that are like well versed in the Trump story, I learned a fair bit. A lot of it did feel like nuggets of trivia that were just sort of sprinkled in. But it is well written, and it could maybe get a screenplay nomination for Gabriel Sherman. Not married to the idea of it being a lock or anything, but it does feel like it will be in the conversation. I also think hair and makeup will get some discussion because, as we've seen recently, they do like to pair performances with the hair and makeup that helps people transform into real life figures like Tammy Faye Baker or Winston Churchill, or, you know, there's loads that come to mind. But yeah, makeup usually does come along with the performance, and the makeup, while it's subtle on Sebastian Stan, it really does a good job to transform. Like, you really believe it because Sebastian Stan has a very nice chin, and they just get rid of it, you know, because they add Trump's, you know, chin, and it's not as chiseled as Sebastian Stan's is. So it's there, it's very well done, and even the makeup and hair's good as he's starting to bald and all that. So it's very, very believable. Oh yeah, because you also see his skin slowly get more orange when he's applying the fake tan. Yeah. It's not what I call showy hair and makeup, but it is impressive for how well it works to transform Sebastian Stan into Donald Trump. It could be in the conversation for hair and makeup, I think, yes. As for other nominations, there is an argument to be made that maybe, given the current political climate in America and everything that's going on with Trump, it might show up in Best Picture. It depends how people receive it. I think people will watch this film. It's a very easy to watch movie. I think it will have an audience, but I'm not sold on it being a Best Picture nominee just yet. I think there is a pathway for it, but yeah, this film was kind of just like, it's good, not great, received in Cannes. Like, that's the general consensus. Like, most people had an alright time watching it, but it's nothing, you know, extraordinary. So while people love the performances in it, which is its strongest suit, I don't think the movie overall is, you know, a surefire thing to be nominated for Best Picture. I'm not putting in my 10 just yet, but we'll see. And by that logic, I don't feel confident about Ali Abbasi getting a nomination for Best Director either. I did appreciate the cinematography. Like, this film really does look like a bootleg relic from the 70s and 80s where it's based, which is really cool. But I don't think it's gonna get nominated, even though I admire what they did to make it feel like a product of its time. So let's talk about The Seed of the Sacred Fig by Mohamed Rasulov. Again, I've not seen this film. I left before it premiered, but then the word of mouth on this film was amazing. The reviews were very positive. And people are saying it's a very daring, very brave movie because the director, Rasulov himself, had to flee Iran to escape an 8-year prison sentence because of this movie and what it's saying about Iran. While this film was celebrated at Cannes, it seems very unlikely that Iran will submit this film, which doesn't paint Iran in a good light as their film for Best International Feature, even though it, you know, probably would get the nomination if they submitted it for the long list. I don't think it's going to happen, sadly. I've not seen the movie, but I don't think they're going to go for it just because they're not going to, you know, submit a film which doesn't make them look good, are they? As for other films that might get submitted for international feature, it seems like Italy might go for Parthenope. It's another film that I've not seen, but it's a Sorrentino movie, and they usually like to go with his movies anyways. They like to bet on him. But the film was not really well received. People didn't really give it that much credit, but because it's Sorrentino and it's got stars like Gary Oldman in, I could see them going with Parthenope. I'm still probably pronouncing it wrong. I've heard so many different pronunciations of that title and I still don't think I'm getting it right. And then there's Payal Kapadias, hopefully I'm saying that right. Their new movie, All We Imagine Is Light. Again, this was another late entry into the festival, made a lot of noise. They really did love this film at Cannes. It won the second place prize, which is awesome. Like, first Indian movie in a long time to even go to Cannes. Again, I've not seen this film, but apparently this is a very intimate film which says a lot about bigger issues that are going on in India. So again, it's kind of like the same problem with the Iran film. If it doesn't paint the country in a good look or whatever, maybe they won't submit it. And India have bungled up their submissions as well. Like a few years ago, they had a hot fire property on their hands, RRR, and they didn't submit that for Best International Feature, and they ended up winning Best Song. Odds are they could have won Best International Feature that year, but they didn't. So yeah, I don't know if they will submit All We Imagine Is Light as their submission. I hope they do, because like it's won a prize at Cannes. It's got a lot of people very excited. I'm excited to see it, but yeah, whether they go for it remains to be seen. But there's definitely potential for it to happen. I think this title is probably more likelier than The Seed of the Sacred Fig being submitted by Iran. For those of you wondering about Megalopolis, was that going to get the Oscar nominations? All I have to say is, yeah, right. This movie, I can't wait for more people to see it, genuinely, but no, this is not going to be championed by the Oscars, I can tell you that. Alright, so now let's finish off with my second favourite film of the festival, which was Coralie Fargeet's The Substance, which managed to win Best Screenplay at Cannes. I adored this film, and I think it's absolutely worthy of getting some Oscar nominations. I'll say in what category shortly, but I think this film is very, very unlikely to get any traction with the Oscars. Again, the reason always comes back to genre bias, you see, because this is a very gnarly, funny body horror movie. It's very entertaining, but I don't think it's going to translate into Oscar nominations, even though it absolutely deserves some acknowledgement, mostly in hair and makeup, sound, and I'd say Best Actress for Demi Moore. Those are three I would love to see get nominations, but I'm not getting my hopes up because I've been hurt before. The Substance has been picked up by Mubi for distribution. It is getting a theatrical release, which is great. Please do watch this movie in a cinema with crowds. It is such a crowd movie. But the thing is with Mubi, their films don't always get as much recognition at the Oscars as they should. Like, After Sun only got the one nomination for Paul Mescal, and that itself was kind of a miracle. Decision to Leave was goose-egged at the Oscars as well. So their track record of getting their films nominated at the Oscars isn't as strong as, say, Neon's is. But if the people at Mubi really launch a hearty campaign for The Substance, then maybe there is a pathway for it to get some Oscar nominations. Again, I'm not putting all my hopes on this, but they do have a really awesome crowd-pleasing movie on their hands here, and it did win a prize, okay? So people are excited for this film. The word of mouth in this film is insatiable. Like, people really do want to check this movie out when it comes out, and it will get discussed more as more and more people see it as well. And yeah, with where it's deserving of nominations is a Best Actress nomination for Demi Moore. Like, this in many ways does feel like a comeback role for her. Like, it is a performance, which you've never seen her do before in terms of like what she's bringing. Like, in many ways, it kind of feels like she's playing a version of herself because of who her character is. Former popular actress in Hollywood, stars faded over the time, and yeah, people kind of forgotten about her. But yeah, this role required her to be very vulnerable, to be very fragile, also be quite funny in places as well. Like, there's certain scenes in this where she was hysterical, and it also required her to go to some very far out depths with what happens to her character in this, and she absolutely throws herself into it with abandon, and it's incredible. Like, it's probably my favorite performance from her, and I freaking adored her in Ghost. But yeah, Demi Moore has never had an Oscar nomination. I would love to see her finally get one, but for this role, it seems so unlikely, just because of the horror elements surrounding what happens to the character. I don't think it's going to happen. People won't take it as seriously as a biopic performance, of someone famous and all that. So yeah, I feel like Demi Moore has less of a shot of being nominated for Best Actress than Mikey Madison does. So yes, I do feel like Demi Moore will struggle, but I hope she's like championed by the critics groups and stuff. Maybe she'll show up somewhere, maybe SAG, I don't know. It would be cool. Like, SAG have nominated horror performances before. Even Emily Blunt managed to win for A Quiet Place. But we will see. I don't know. It's one where it's a wishful thinking pick, but I don't think it's going to happen. I also think Margaret Qualley would be worthy of a Best Supporting Actress nomination as well, but not going to happen. She's less likely than Demi Moore, I'd say. As for other nominations, the obvious one, and I can't go into too much detail about it because it would spoil the movie for you guys, but it is hair and makeup. This movie absolutely deserves to be nominated for hair and makeup for the sheer audacity and skill of what they pull off with practical makeup. Like, this is some of the most impressive makeup you will see ever. Like, honestly, like it's in the same leagues as like what we saw in John Carpenter's The Thing or The Fly. I think David Cronenberg's movie's okay. It's that type of like impressive practical body horror. Very like gnarly, very ew-inducing, and it's so impressive. It deserves an Oscar nomination. In fact, this is the category where I'm like, this is what deserves to win this year. I've not seen all the other movies this year, but this should win. And it's probably not even going to get nominated. So like, that's how assured I feel of this. So I will be quite vocal about this over awards season on the channel. I will be pushing this movie. I don't think it will happen, but I want to see it happen. So hopefully if there's enough support and enough passion on social media, maybe it can happen. We'll see. So yes, hair and makeup, absolutely. Sound as well. The sound and the design in this movie is so visceral. Like, it's bloody disgusting, and it works so well with the makeup as well. So yeah, sound would also be worthy. But again, because this is a mostly funny body horror movie, I don't think it's gonna really happen. I think people will like this movie. I think people will enjoy it. I don't think people will take it seriously for awards recognition, even though it absolutely deserves it. If I had it my way, this film would get Best Picture, Best Director for Coralie Faugy, and Screenplay as well. Editing, yeah, and all the other ones I said, sound, makeup and hair, actress, supporting actress. Yeah, I'd give it so many award nominations, this movie. But yeah, that's the fantasy in Luke land. It's not gonna happen, sorry. Anyway, we're at that point in the video now, guys, where I think like we've discussed most of the potential Oscar nominees from the Cannes Film Festival. Were there any I missed? If there were, do let me know in that comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. So yeah, the main takeaways I would say from this video is that the films that I feel will probably have the best success with the Oscars is Anora and The Apprentice, and I think Furiosa will do all right in the tech categories. And there's also potential for maybe Emilia Perez to surprise, depending on how it's received by general audiences and the Academy. And then there's a bunch of other films which are sort of maybes at the minute. We kind of need to wait and see how they're received. And then there's a few films where like I'm hopeful, like All We Imagine Is Light and The Seed of the Sacred Fig, may be surprising in the international feature, even though I've not seen them. Like, it sounds like they would be great picks for that category. But yeah, those are sort of how I'm feeling about the films I saw in Cannes this year. What do you think of my predictions? Do you have any more? Whatever you have to say, let me know in that comment section down below. If you guys have enjoyed this video, help me out with a little thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click subscribe, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Lukehearfield, and I'll see you next time. And I just woke up my cats. No, don't eat that.